Ichikawa Kyotaro is an ugly loser barely clinging to the bottom rung of his school's social ladder. This lowly nerd thinks he's the main character in some deep psychological thriller, when in reality, he's just a socially awkward gremlin fantasizing about chaos while sweating over the class idol, Anna Yamada. He calls himself a dark and brooding loner, but bro can't even hold eye contact without short-circuiting. Meanwhile, Anna's out here being a total weirdo herself, making Kyotaro look even more like a clueless dork. If cringe had a human form, it'd be this nerd with his overdramatic daydreams. The story begins with Ichikawa struggling to cope with his obsessive and murderous urges. His fixation had settled on Anna Yamada, the most popular girl at his school, the one he had desired to kill the most. Every night, thoughts of her demise consumed his mind, filling him with self-loathing. Seeking refuge, he often fled to the library where he unexpectedly encountered Yamada indulging in some manjayake. Hiding behind a bookshelf, he observed her in secret. She hummed to herself, her hands moving in peculiar gestures, completely unaware of his presence. Intrigued yet unnerved, he began formulating a scheme to end her life. As he continued spying, he noticed her working on a social studies project. A missing box cutter forced her to tear paper manually, prompting a dark thought to cross his mind. If he lent her his box cutter, what would happen? The idea lingered, tantalizing and dangerous. Eventually, he placed the box cutter in her hands. She accepted it with cheerful gratitude, unaware of his true intentions. As she turned her attention back to her project, he quickly retreated behind the bookshelf. The bell rang, signaling the end of the period. Without realizing it, she slipped his box cutter into her pencil case before leaving. Later, during a class presentations, Ichikawa's gaze drifted toward Yamada. Unlike her usual energetic self, she appeared downcast, her expression clouded with sadness. The sight of her unexpected sorrow ignited a wave of anger within him. As her group presented their project, silent tears streaked her face. Suddenly, the distant hum of helicopters filled the air. The students, their curiosity piqued, turned their heads in her direction. Desperate to divert their attention, Ichikawa grabbed his box cutter and shredded his project, causing a commotion. His group partners immediately scolded him for his reckless behavior. Meanwhile, seemingly oblivious to the unwanted attention, Yamada turned to her friend and inquired about the helicopters. His sacrifice had been utterly in vain. Later, he observed her laughing and joking with her friends. Their lively interactions contrasted starkly with the melancholy he had witnessed earlier. As he eavesdropped on a classmate making lewd comments about her, an uncontrollable surge of fury erupted within him. Unable to tolerate it any longer, he stormed back to the library, only to cross paths with her once more. This time, she was accompanied by a classmate named Hara who was engaging in a lively conversation. Soon after, another boy arrived, leading Ichikawa to speculate whether he was about to confess his feelings for Hara. Instead, the boy began listing the attractive qualities of a girl. Each word grated on Ichikawa's nerves, fueling his silent resentment. A noise from the back of the library caught Yamada's attention. She quickly signaled Ichikawa to mimic a cat. Confused but compliant, he hesitantly followed her lead. Moving toward the back, she demonstrated a convincing cat noise, successfully deceiving Hara and her boyfriend. Believing two cats were about to fight, they quickly fled. As the library fell silent, Yamada turned to Ichikawa with a playful smile, expressing relief that their plan had worked. With that, she cheerfully departed, leaving him frozen in place, struggling to process what had just transpired. Later, as he walked down the street, his thoughts circled back to their repeated encounters. No matter where he went, she always seemed to be there. Eventually, his wandering led him to a nearby bookstore where he recalled overhearing Yamada and her friends discussing Shield magazine. Curious, he stepped inside, searching for the issue they had mentioned. Just as he found it, she entered the store with a group of girls. Panicking, he quickly hid, watching from a distance. To his surprise, she began acting dramatically in front of them as if seeking attention. Her exaggerated antics continued for a while before she eventually gave up, dramatically in front of them as if seeking attention. Her exaggerated antics continued for a while before she eventually gave up and left. Once she was gone, he purchased the Shield magazine and returned home. Flipping through its pages, he stumbled upon several photos of her. A strange, unfamiliar emotion stirred within him. Frustrated, he hastily discarded the magazine, unable to comprehend why he had become so worked up over the situation. A flashback revealed his name, Ichikawa. The next day, he arrived at school and immediately noticed Yamada talking with another boy, Haruya. Unease settled over him as he wondered if Haruya was her boyfriend. He tried to convince himself that he didn't care, yet his focus remained on their conversation. Snippets about social media and ice cream drifted into his ears. As they continued walking, Haruya suddenly stopped and insisted that she add him online. Watching from afar, Ichikawa told himself it was none of his concern. He refused to acknowledge the growing irritation bubbling inside him. But deep down, something irrational pushed him toward action. Before he could think twice, he sent his bicycle rolling toward them at an incredible speed. It missed its intended target, crashing into the water instead. One of Yamada's friends quickly informed her about the bizarre incident. Curious, she approached Ichikawa and directly questioned his motives. For a split second, he hesitated. Then, rather than offering a serious answer, he cracked a joke. To his surprise, laughter burst from her lips. A smile graced her face as she casually remarked that he was a funny person. Ichikawa reflected that the library was his sanctuary, where he did not want anyone to enter. At the same time, he observed Yamada eating candy meant for children. Yamada struggled to find water for her meal and spilt some on the floor. Ichikawa took it upon himself to clean up the mess, but Yamada arrived, saying that she had planned to clean it later. Realizing they only had 3 minutes of recess left, she quickly went to get water. Meanwhile, Ichikawa rushed to the home economics room to get her a glass. When he returned, he saw that Yamada had already brought enough water to prepare her treat. Yamada noticed Ichikawa drinking from a glass and handed him her trash, telling him he could keep it. While in class, Ichikawa pondered his plan to eliminate Yamada. Meanwhile, Yamada struggled with the heat, so her friend Moko helped her while the others fanned each other. Ichikawa wondered why Yamada preferred eating alone when she had so many friends. He also questioned whether Yamada planned to kill him in the library. Yamada asked someone for their shirt, and Ichikawa overheard his male classmates talking. His classmate Adaki attempted to peek at Yamada, so Ichikawa dropped his box cutter to get Adaki's attention. His plan worked, allowing him to leave the class. He then focused on Yamada's closest friend, Kobayashi. He liked calling Kobayashi Yamada's boyfriend and noticed that Kobayashi never complained in the library. Yamada asked Ichikawa to pass her fan, saying it smelled amazing. She told him to smell it, and when he did, he noticed that Yamada was wearing her swimsuit under her school uniform. Yamada then received a phone call from Moko and hid under the table, asking Ichikawa to cover the seat. Kobayashi entered and asked Ichikawa where Yamada was. He sat at the table, which made Ichikawa feel uneasy. Kobayashi shared a story about Yamada and mentioned how much she loved eating. She also expressed her jealousy of Yamada's looks and personality. Yamada came out of hiding and agreed, saying she enjoyed hearing people praise her. As Yamada stood up, she accidentally touched Ichikawa's leg, embarrassing him. Yamada and Kobayashi left, and Ichikawa ran to the restroom. After summer break, the students prepared for the upcoming cultural festival. Ichikawa's class was in charge of setting up the haunted house. Yamada asked Ichikawa to help with the decorations. He assisted Hara by giving her advice but got distracted by her chest. Suddenly, Yamada jumped out and scared him. Hara finished and left just as Yamada noticed a gravestone drawing with her family's last name written on it. Ichikawa wondered if Hara had written it because she had a vendetta against Yamada. Adaki grabbed Ichikawa and asked if he had written it to avoid a conflict between the girls. Ichikawa admitted that he had. Adachi wanted to beat Ichikawa up to impress Yamada, but fortunately, Hara arrived and explained that she had simply been writing common last names and had planned to erase them. Ichikawa helped Hara erase the names while Yamada stood nearby and apologized. Kobayashi then called Yamada over to practice her haunted house routine. Ichikawa wrote his last name on the gravestone and headed to one of the stalls to wash his hands. He wondered what Yamada meant by her apology. Suddenly, Yamada startled him and asked if she would be scarier with fake blood. She started playing with the paint, so Ichikawa showed her how to make it look like real blood. They shared a small, intimate moment, but Ichikawa became flustered and left. The cultural festival began, and Ichikawa spotted Haruya. Haruya joined Yamada and her friends in the festivities. Although Ichikawa had issues with Haruya, he acknowledged that Haruya was not entirely bad, as he had helped retrieve Ichikawa's bike from the river. Ichikawa and Yamada entered an exhibit about their town. They found a map on the ground, and Ichikawa realized he lived close to Yamada. He asked if he could take a picture, but Yamada grabbed his phone and took a selfie with him. This surprised Ichikawa, as he had intended to take a picture of the map, but he clenched his phone and found himself liking the photo they took together. The episode ended with Ichikawa stating that his class had not won the top prize. Instead, the map of the town from 80 years ago had won. The next day, Ichikawa was thinking about writing a book about a boy who was sent to another world. The idea of curses always seemed to dominate such stories, and he wondered why that was always the case. In his book, a protagonist would have black magic, which would cause anything he touched to break. The heroine in his story looks a lot like Yamada. Even though he was fine, Ichikawa went to the nurse's office. There he saw Yamada lying beside the nurse's bed. The nurse explained that Yamada was having a bad headache, which was why she was there. In addition, she was having a stomach ache from eating too many candies. The nurse gave Ichikawa a pill, and he became excited when he realized he would drink from the same glass Yamada had used. While observing the room, he noticed that Yamada had left her shirt behind. Unable to resist, he sniffed the fabric before the nurse handed it to him, telling him to return it. He was blaming his actions on some uncontrollable creature in his mind as he accepted the task. When he returned to class, a group of 12-year-old boys was asking the girls personal questions. One of them gave Ichikawa a note to pass to Yamada, but instead of delivering it as intended, he swapped it with his sketch before giving it to her. Meanwhile, the boys were devising a game to reveal a person's favorite yoga position. One boy asked the girls to hold his hand in a particular way, claiming it would show their preferred pose. However, one of the girls was suspicious of his intentions and told him to try the test with his friends first. The plan backfired as the girls were experimenting with various ways to hold his hand while the boys were making bizarre guesses. Later in the library, Yamada tried to pry open Ichikawa's fist in search of her missing candy. Taking the opportunity, he used the boy's earlier theory to guess her favorite position. His mind was slowly falling under its influence. On the basketball court, the coach instructed the students to divide into teams. When a friend asked Yamada to play defense, she refused, explaining that she had a photo shoot coming up and needed to lose weight by running. Considering her curvy figure, Ichikawa was wondering what weight she was talking about. Even though he was observing her openness, he realized he didn't know her well. His thoughts were taking a dark turn as he was thinking about how easy it would be for someone to murder her, until a basketball suddenly struck him. As frustration was building up, he was preparing to throw the ball in anger only to realize that Yamada had been the one who had thrown it to him. His irritation disappeared instantly, and he was returning the ball calmly. He soon noticed that Yamada was looking at him with a blush on her face, but before she could react, a stray basketball was hitting her directly in the face, causing her nose to bleed. Panic was setting in as Ichikawa saw the blood. The coach immediately took Yamada and Kobayashi to the nurse's office. Ichikawa secretly followed them, shocked when he overheard the coach calling Yamada's parents. The situation seemed serious. Hiding under the nurse's bed, he was spotting Yamada's blood-stained tissues and was hoping that the kid wouldn't do anything strange with them. As Yamada talked to her mother, she started crying when she realized she would miss her photo shoot. Without meaning to, Ichikawa was also starting to cry. When Yamada accidentally dropped her belongings, Ichikawa noticed that she had framed his sketch. The sight touched him, and at that moment, he realized that he liked her. Later, when he returned to class, the same group of boys was gathering again. One of them was proudly showing off Yamada's bloody tissue as though it were a trophy. Annoyance was flaring within Ichikawa. He was preparing to confront them, but then he was noticing bloodstains on his shirt. The realization was striking. When he had crawled out from under the nurse's bed, his shirt had brushed against Yamada's blood. Immediately, he was sitting down, trying to hide the stains. The next day, Yamada came to school with a bandage on her nose. Curious classmates bombarded her with questions, tiring her out. She asked Kobayashi to write the explanation directly on her bandage so she wouldn't have to keep repeating herself. Overwhelmed with frustration, she hugged Kobayashi, still feeling upset about the missed photo shoot. As the embrace continued, the pervy boy's thoughts predictably turned inappropriate. Later, Ichikawa was walking through the school and spotted Yamada standing on the stairs, still crying. She had run out of tissues and could not wipe her tears. Wanting to help but feeling too shy to approach her directly, he left some tissue packets in the library instead. Yamada picked them up, but instead of using them to wipe her tears, she was cleaning her hands after eating snacks. The sight of her small smile brought relief to Ichikawa. Ichikawa thought about what he had said earlier, "I like her." He was confused. Did it mean he loved her? He wasn't sure because he didn't feel like going on dates or spending romantic time with her. At lunch, while Ichikawa was eating, he noticed a girl staring at Yamada. He soon realized it was because Yamada had secretly been stealing a milk pack. Ichikawa followed her to the library where he discovered that Yamada had stolen the milk to mix in some candy, narun, a sweet treat. Just as Yamada was about to add the candy to the milk, Ichikawa stopped her and suggested that she use a bowl from the EC room instead. With a smirk, Yamada asked him to bring the bowl in an orderly. Hesitating but not wanting to refuse, Ichikawa ran off to get it, wondering where his usual confident self had gone. Halfway there, Yamada joined him. She acted like a pro at making the narun drink, pretending to be a chef. It was locked when they reached the EC room, so they decided to steal a beaker from the science lab. Once in the lab, Yamada dipped Ichikawa's finger into the syrupy mix, asking him to taste it while she drank the rest. As she was drinking, their teacher suddenly appeared. In a panic, Yamada dropped the syrup on her thighs, causing an awkward moment. Ichikawa tried to explain to the teacher, though he felt uncomfortable. Later, while cleaning up the school, a girl named Rin approached Yamada. Before she could speak, Yamada's handkerchief slipped out of her pocket and fell out the window. She rushed to retrieve it. Rin's friend Serena suggested that Rin apologize to Yamada for something she had unintentionally done. Rin, annoyed, snapped at Serena, saying she had changed and wasn't the same anymore. She walked off angrily. Soon after, Ichikawa and Yamada found themselves in the library. To his surprise, Rin was there too, possibly to apologize. Ichikawa tried to leave to give them space, but Yamada called him over, asking him to take a selfie with her using a face-swapping filter. Ichikawa immediately said no and quickly ran out of the library where he bumped into Serena. Yamada called Rin and showed her the photo, but Rin didn't care. Yamada laughed and took another selfie with Rin, using the face swap this time. Rin became embarrassed and suddenly apologized. It turned out that Rin had been the one who had hit Yamada in the face with a ball. Yamada was surprisingly kind and even asked for candy from Rin. As Rin walked out, Serena apologized to Rin for making her apologize in the first place. On the way home while riding his bike, Ichikawa noticed how much everyone cared about Yamada's nose, probably because she was a model. As he was thinking this, Yamada appeared beside him, asking for a lift. Shyly, Ichikawa agreed and Yamada sat on the back of the bike, asking him to take her to the Muroka snack shop. Along the way, Ichikawa mentioned that he was part of the data processing club. Yamada replied that she would join the same club. When they reached the shop, Yamada handed him a juice bottle. Ichikawa was surprised as Yamada rarely shared anything. In return, he gave her the bottle cap, which still had a few drops of juice. Yamada walked away blushing. It was a high school romance, Ichikawa thought. The next day, their teacher asked if anyone knew who had thrown candy wrappers in the library. Yamada straight up lied, even though it was obvious. The teacher called her to the office, but Yamada got away when the teacher got distracted. Later, Ichikawa went to lunch with his sister, but felt embarrassed to be seen with her. As they walked, Yamada and her friends passed by. As Yamada's group sat behind him, Ichikawa overheard their conversation. Later, when Ichikawa went to buy more snacks, Yamada joined him. She mentioned that she wanted to become friends with his sister, but when Ichikawa asked why she was there, she made excuses. The truth was, she had come to the counter to talk to him. As they were ordering, Ichikawa panicked and became too shy to hand her the ice cream he had bought. Later at school, Yamada seemed to be looking for him. She asked him to accompany her to the teacher's office when she appeared behind him. There, the teacher accused Yamada of bringing snacks to school. Yamada didn't care about the accusations and Ichikawa defended her, lying to cover for her, even though they had been caught in the library. Ichikawa tricked the teacher and they walked off, both feeling relieved. As they entered the hall, Yamada handed Ichikawa a candy, thanking him. She asked him to talk to her more, making Ichikawa blush deeply. The class was assigned to visit different shops and write a report about them. Ichikawa wasn't interested in the task. He preferred reporting on crime scenes or drug cartels. His interests lay in dark places and murder mysteries. The teacher instructed the class to form 6 groups based on shared interests. As usual, Ichikawa sat alone, having no friends. The pervy boys called him over and asked him to join them. Ichikawa agreed and joined their group. The pervy boys soon realized they needed 2 more people, so they split up. Oda and Adaki, 2 group members, went to ask the girls if they could join. Saki, Yamada's friend, rejected them immediately, which pleased Ichikawa. The girls said they would discuss and choose 2 people to join their group. The first person the girls chose was Kanzaki, but he declined. Ichikawa suggested that Kanzaki join Hara's group since it was filled with nerds and would fit in well. Kanzaki agreed, but 3 people remained. Ichikawa managed to work his way into Yamada's group. Though she could have asked the girls to take him, Ichikawa insisted on joining. Adachi also ended up joining the group. Later in the library, Ichikawa wondered if Yamada thought he was desperate to force his way into her group. Yamada entered with Hara and Ichikawa quietly observed them. Yamada had sneaked in some snacks to share with Hara. Wasn't Yamada a model who cared about her weight? Hara, however, said she couldn't have any snacks because she was on a diet. She had come to the library to talk to Yamada. Yamada became excited, realizing Hara had come for her, not the food. Most likely, Yamada was happy because she wouldn't have to share. It turned out that Kanzaki and Hara were dating and Hara wanted to lose weight to look prettier. Ichikawa overheard their entire conversation. Hara mentioned that they had gone on a shopping date together, which made progress for the pervy boys. Hara then asked Yamada if she had ever been in a relationship. Yamada admitted she hadn't, which made Ichikawa feel a little better. Yamada said she would want to share a pair of earbuds with her boyfriend someday. She took a selfie with Hara, but the photo captured Ichikawa sneaking behind them. Hara didn't mind Ichikawa overhearing their conversation, as he had no friends to share it with, which probably stung Ichikawa deeply. Later, as Ichikawa was about to leave school, it started raining. He put on his raincoat and noticed Yamada standing there. She asked to borrow Ichikawa's raincoat so she could buy an umbrella. Ichikawa realized Yamada had left her bag and wallet at school, so he ran to catch up with her in the rain. Yamada asked him to grab her purse from her bag, but when he reached inside, he found she already had an umbrella. She claimed the umbrella was broken. Ichikawa put her wallet in his pocket and they both blushed. It turned out Yamada had lied to spend more time with him and buy snacks. She then shared an ice cream with him. Ichikawa asked if she loved or hated the ice cream, but got distracted. When he was leaving, Yamada shouted to him, saying, "I'm practically in love." It wasn't clear whether she meant the ice cream or herself. The next day, the group started visiting different places for their report. At the manga store, Ichikawa asked pervy questions and even fantasized about an idol's chest size. It was no surprise. They met a writer at the store who allowed them to peek at some unreleased manga, which excited Ichikawa. On their way back from the manga store, the lift was crowded and Yamada stood too close to Ichikawa. To control himself, Ichikawa closed his eyes. He couldn't believe he was the same person who had been sniffing her clothes a while ago. Even so, he could still smell Yamada's fragrance and feel her breath. When the lift reached their floor, Ichikawa opened his eyes to find Yamada standing close to him after everyone else had left. They exchanged a glance before Yamada walked away. As they walked together, they talked about mangas. Ichikawa went to the bathroom, and when he returned, he saw that only Yamada remained. The others had left on the subway because Ichikawa and Yamada had forgotten to ask them to wait, so Ichikawa and Yamada were left behind together. Ichikawa and Yamada had been left behind by their group mates, causing them to panic. Yamada took all the blame and began to cry. Fortunately, the next train would arrive in about 7 minutes. Ichikawa felt guilty and decided to make it up to her by buying milk tea. He believed it was his fault for not informing everyone that he needed a bathroom break, which made Yamada laugh and cheered her up. When the train arrived, Yamada held onto Ichikawa so they wouldn't get separated. She also confided in him, revealing that Hara had a secret relationship and hinting that she might have one too. Soon, they caught up with their group. The next day, Ichikawa realized he was starting to like school because he was beginning to like Yamada. He noticed her waiting for him outside the school. When he arrived, Yamada gave him the manga they had discussed earlier. Excited, she told him the entire story of the manga. Afterwards, she returned to the school gate so Ichikawa wouldn't know she'd just been waiting for him. A little later, Yamada visited Ichikawa at the library, even though she was supposed to be busy with her work. She noticed Ichikawa reading a book different from her manga. Without hesitation, she forced him to read her manga and dragged his book away, but she tripped. Ichikawa accidentally bumped into Yamada's chest, creating an awkward yet memorable moment. They both apologized, and just as Yamada was about to leave, Ichikawa stalked her. He wasn't sure why he had done so, but he began asking random questions. That night, he started reading the manga at home. The next day at school, Yamada immediately asked Ichikawa about the manga. She kept asking him, so he decided to read it during school. While reading, Adaki interrupted, mistakenly thinking Ichikawa was dating Yamada. Ichikawa quickly clarified that they were just classmates. Adachi, who seemed to like Yamada, kept asking questions about her. Adachi admitted that he liked Yamada because he couldn't help it, which puzzled Ichikawa, who then considered whether Adachi's perspective was right. As he thought about it more, he wondered about his feelings for Yamada. Adaki then commented on liking Yamada's body, which made Ichikawa uncomfortable, prompting him to walk away. He realized that while Adachi had always spoken poorly of Yamada before, it hadn't mattered to him. Now that he liked her, he began to question his feelings. Later, Ichikawa walked into class and sat next to Yamada. He accidentally looked at her thighs, which made him leave the classroom. On his way to the library, he saw Yamada standing sadly, confused about how quickly she had gotten there. Yamada was upset because the library recently introduced a new rule prohibiting eating, and she thought someone had told the staff about her snacks. Together, they wondered who might have informed the library staff, but before guessing, they decided to ask the library teacher. The teacher explained that she had found a candy wrapper in the library, which led to the reminder of the rule. Later, as they sat in the library, Ichikawa wondered if it were the last time Yamada would visit, since she never liked reading books and only came to eat snacks. He feared that this might be the end of their bond. However, Yamada opened a pack of chocolate and started eating it, showing that nothing could stop her from snacking. Despite knowing the no-eating rule, she ignored the poster. At that moment, Ichikawa saw the library teacher approaching, and she was about to catch Yamada. Ichikawa quickly moved and grabbed Yamada's hand, hiding the chocolate between them. The teacher glanced at them, holding hands briefly before walking away, giving them privacy. Ichikawa was amazed that a teacher like that existed. Afterwards, Ichikawa fell back and Yamada stared at him, blushing. He apologized for holding her hand without asking, explaining that he had done it to protect her. The chocolate had melted onto Yamada's hand and she seemed confused. She then requested Ichikawa to leave because she wanted to lick her hand. Ichikawa awkwardly left the library, but the next day, everything seemed normal again. Ichikawa was at home using his laptop, but he couldn't stop thinking about Yamada. He decided to Google her modeling name, Anna Aquino, and began searching for more information about her. As he scrolled through the results, he became upset when he saw the search bar calling Anna Aquino ugly. Annoyed, he started complaining about the people on the internet, but then he noticed the word Kolgaku in the search results. Curious, Ichikawa quickly researched it and found out that it was a TV show featuring Yamada which aired every Tuesday. Realizing it was Tuesday, he rushed to the TV, only to find that the show had just ended before he could get there. As everyone was preparing for the marathon the next day, Ichikawa glared at Yamada. He wanted to keep their relationship exactly as it had been. When the race started, everyone began running on their own. Ichikawa's misogynistic side started to show when he saw Yamada was about to pass him. He sped up, and Yamada did the same. Soon, she caught up with him, grabbed his arm, and asked him to slow down, but Ichikawa's pride wouldn't let him. He sped ahead once more. However, when Yamada removed her gym shirt, Ichikawa slowed down, allowing her to get ahead. He couldn't blame himself after all. Yamada used her advantage. As Ichikawa couldn't stop staring at Yamada's chest, he noticed she was wearing her shirt backwards. When Ichikawa pointed it out, Yamada flipped her shirt while running instead of slowing down. This didn't slow her down, and Ichikawa fell behind to hide his reaction. Yamada, however, turned her head and saw Ichikawa's right eye for the first time as they ran. They both became so distracted by each other that they ran off the track, causing Ichikawa to finish in last place. Later, as Yamada sat, exhausted, she reached out her hand to Ichikawa, and he held it to help her stand. Ichikawa, who had once been a misogynist, found himself confused about what to call the hand-holding moment. As he put his phone down in class, he noticed the name on the gym shirt and realized that he had swapped shirts with Yamada. That's when he overheard Yamada's friend mentioning that wearing your boyfriend's clothes was a sign of love. At that point, Ichikawa wanted his shirt back but couldn't find the right opportunity. When class started, he noticed that Yamada was wearing his gym shirt and began to worry that someone might see. When lunch break came, Yamada called him over and took him to the nurse's office to return his gym shirt. As she took it off, she strangely sniffed it before returning it. Then she took Ichikawa to measure their heights. As Yamada set up the scales, her chest faced Ichikawa, so he stepped back and suggested that she measure her height instead. He had to use a chair to check her height. As Ichikawa walked into class the next day, he overheard everyone talking about Yamada appearing in a movie with a famous actor and director. He noticed that she didn't seem particularly excited about it. When class began, the teacher asked everyone to pick a random number and sit according to it. Ichikawa hoped that Yamada would sit beside him, but although she sat close, it wasn't right beside him. As the lecture started, Ichikawa had trouble seeing the board because Yamada was seated at the front. Naoki ended up sitting next to Yamada, which made Ichikawa angry. Hara noticed his trouble and offered to share her notes so he could copy them. Though Yamada didn't seem too happy about this, she appeared to be jealous that Ichikawa was talking to Hara. Ichikawa teased her by saying, "All I see is you," causing both of them to blush just as Hara walked into the room. Later, Ichikawa and Yamada were sitting in the library. Ichikawa explained that he had changed the seating arrangement so Yamada could sit where he had before because he couldn't see the board. He also reassured her not to worry about the movie. Yamada got excited and asked if he liked movies. She told him her role in the film was to be the daughter of a police officer chasing the main character. Ichikawa noticed that Yamada sounded much happier than before, and he guessed she just wanted to share it with him. She then revealed that her big line in the movie was, "You're such a creep." She started practicing the line over and over while looking at him. When everyone began to watch them, Ichikawa suggested they go somewhere private. They ended up in a storage room where Ichikawa stood too close to Yamada due to the small space. When Ichikawa mentioned that he might watch the movie, Yamada was delighted and left the room. Later, Ichikawa watched a TV show featuring Yamada and felt sad because the show cut almost almost every scene where Yamada was about to speak. The next day, Ichikawa saw Yamada telling her friends about her appearance on the show, even though he thought she might have been uncomfortable sharing it. However, she seemed fine with it and appeared excited to talk about it. A few days later, Yamada ran towards Sakine looking very worried. She explained that Kobayashi had caught a cold and couldn't attend school. Yamada then sat down on Sakine's lap and Ichikawa observed her behavior from a distance. He was surprised when Yamada tried to grab her chest, attempting to make Yamada move off Sakine's lap. The girls were acting increasingly strangely and Ichikawa tried his best to distract himself from the situation. Later, everyone appeared to be stressed after the test results were announced. Yamada approached Kana and started comparing herself to her, which irritated Kana. Moments later, Ichikawa and Yamada studied in the library and Kana joined them. Ichikawa helped Kana with her questions, solving all of them, but Yamada didn't seem happy with the situation. Kana then mentioned that the school would have a parent-teacher meeting soon and revealed that Yamada had talked a lot about Ichikawa in front of her, which embarrassed him. Ichikawa couldn't help but think that Yamada must have been making fun of him in front of her friends. Kana pointed out some of Yamada's more silly moments which caused Ichikawa to smirk, making Yamada feel a bit jealous, as she had never made Ichikawa laugh or smile like that before. Kana noticed that the day of the parent-teacher meeting arrived. As Ichikawa descended the stairs, he saw Adachi's mother pulling her son's ear and taking him away. Adachi looked deeply embarrassed. Ichikawa couldn't help but feel scared, and as he walked toward his mother, he noticed Yamada sitting with her mother. He immediately recognized Yamada's mother and thought her taste in women must be complicated. Yamada's mother was strict and told her always to keep her posture and legs in mind. Even Ichikawa's mother seemed to be intimidated sitting next to Yamada. Ichikawa's mother introduced herself to Yamada, who became visibly excited. Ichikawa's mother asked Yamada to get along with Ichikawa, and Yamada nervously responded that they had already been doing so. Ichikawa's mother gave Yamada throat lozenges, a type of medicinal candy, and in return, Yamada gave her some candy. As the meeting ended, Ichikawa and his mom began walking together. Ichikawa's mother seemed genuinely happy because the teacher had praised Ichikawa's class participation, but he ignored her and walked faster to avoid being seen with her. Ichikawa's mother then showed him the candy that Yamada had given her and praised Yamada's looks, while Yamada secretly followed them from a distance. Ichikawa's mother asked Ichikawa if he knew the girl she was talking about, and Ichikawa casually replied that her name was Yamada. Both Ichikawa and his mom looked back and saw Yamada standing there blushing. Yamada quickly walked away, trying to hide her embarrassment. The next day, Ichikawa and Yamada were in the library together. Yamada called Ichikawa's mom adorable, and Ichikawa felt a little awkward. Since Yamada was sitting too close to him, Ichikawa stood up, saying that Kobayashi was home. Yamada then asked him to teach her science and pulled out a history book. The librarian walked in at that moment, and Ichikawa saw a throat lozenge on the table. Panicking, he whispered for Yamada to hide it, but Yamada suddenly jumped to the ground to hide it. Ichikawa thought to himself that he hadn't known she had a whisper fetish. He noticed that Yamada's face had turned red from the situation. Later, it started to rain while Ichikawa was cycling home. He passed by Yamada, who stopped him and offered to share her umbrella. Ichikawa refused, saying it was too dangerous to cycle on a wet street with two people. They parted ways, but when Ichikawa arrived home, he found Yamada's things on his bike. He sneaked inside, thinking it was just snacks, only to find a pack of tampons. He quickly rushed outside to find Yamada. At the subway, he returned her bag. Yamada whispered that the tampons weren't for her period, and Ichikawa casually replied before heading home. Later, he looked at Yamada's pictures until he fell asleep, dreaming of multiple Yamadas chasing him. He woke up sweating and realized that he had caught a cold. The next day, Yamada visited Ichikawa, bringing food with her. Ichikawa invited her in for tea, but started to panic as he wasn't feeling well. As he went to change, he suddenly felt dizzy and passed out. Yamada found him on the floor and helped him to his bed, carefully putting a shirt on him. Ichikawa's mother entered, and in his dizziness, Ichikawa thought that it must have been a dream. His head fell on Yamada's chest, and she hugged him tightly. When Ichikawa woke up, he whispered Yamada's name, but to his surprise, he found Kana sitting there instead. Kana said that Yamada had left a note that read, "Get well soon, 09." The next day, Yamada entered and asked Ichikawa if he had the lineup, acting as if she were up to date. He thought she might be making fun of him, so he defended himself, saying that even people without friends use Line. He told her he had it, and she showed him her funny sticker collection, offering to send it to him, but he refused. She tried to add him, especially since their class didn't have a group chat. She then asked about the data processing club, but Ichikawa didn't know. He admitted that he didn't want to ask because they probably didn't want him there if he wasn't in the chat. Yamada slumped in the library, and Ichikawa wondered if she knew what it felt like to be left out. On December 16th, Boko said she would do anything for a boyfriend this Christmas. She had planned to exchange Line IDs with boys, and Yamada approved. Munko thought it would be easy for Yamada, so she asked her but compared it to a level 99 fighting slime. They agreed to ask everyone, so Moko asked Ichikawa first. She froze, unable to ask him directly. Moko pushed Yamada away, saying she needed to target Ichimuro, who was average but good at track and academics. Moko wanted his ID, and he and Yamada lived in the same building, with their parents getting along. He overheard them and realized what she had been doing earlier, regretting not acting sooner. That night, Ichikawa overthought everything about Yamada trying to exchange IDs with him. He comforted himself, thinking it wasn't a big deal for her. He imagined that she liked distant guys who were secretly sweet and got excited, staring at their picture, but his thoughts spiraled. The next day, he saw Haruya chatting with Yamada about a game and inviting her to play. Ichikawa thought Haruya could hide his intentions better. Kobayashi interrupted, saying Yamada only played Animal Crossing, but Yamada ruined it by asking her about it. Ichikawa secretly praised her for it. Yoshida wondered if the girl with Haruya was his girlfriend, but Moko called him a polygamist. Haruya invited Kobayashi too, and Ichikawa realized he only cared about Yamada. He felt terrible for Kobayashi, thinking Haruya was leading her on. Later, Ichikawa overheard Yamada and Kobayashi. Yamada warned her not to go, but Kobayashi insisted on taking Moko. Ichikawa told Yamada she was being used by Haruya. That afternoon, he found Yamada crying in the library. She asked if he played video games, and he remembered thinking the Switch controls were dumb when he first tried them. Ichikawa's sealed memories resurfaced. Yamada mentioned that her father played video games, and the girls with Haruya apologized for assuming she had a boyfriend earlier. Yamada denied it, looking more like she was telling Ichikawa. The girls quickly left, and Ichikawa told Yamada not to hang around him in front of others. When Yamada and Haruya returned, Ichikawa stepped back, but Yamada grabbed his face. After they left, Yamada exited awkwardly, and Ichikawa worried about people thinking they were a couple. Moko told Kobayashi he was being used in class, and Yoshida called him a creep. Kobayashi fought back tears, and Ichikawa watched Yamada protect her friend. After school, Kobayashi told Yamada she wouldn't go, and they returned home playfully. Ichikawa saw Haruya, who left when she saw him, wondering if people thought he and Yamada were a couple. He overthought everything and decided she was using him. Yamada entered the classroom, and Ichikawa stopped cleaning the library. He left with Yamada following. She grabbed his arm, pinned him to the wall, and awkwardly asked if he was mad. He said no and led her when she apologized. Yamada started crying, making Ichikawa wonder if he had misjudged her. He remembered avoiding video games as a child to stop becoming obsessed. He told Yamada he wasn't mad, just busy. She hugged him tightly, apologizing for the contact. Sparks flew, and Ichikawa struggled not to believe she liked him. They walked home, and Yamada talked about Nato, which Ichikawa didn't like. She apologized for rambling. At the junction, Yamada grabbed his bike and asked to talk more. Ichikawa thought she had no one else to talk to about Nato. He shared that he didn't mind it with fried rice. She asked about his winter plans, and he mentioned visiting his father's hometown. She checked her calendar for the 24th. Ichikawa remembered to return her book, and they sat on the steps where he admitted he liked it more than he had expected. When he shared, Yamada asked about his favorite part, which she said was her favorite too. She promised to bring the next book, but suddenly remembered something and left. Ichikawa called her back. Moko complained about another Christmas without a boyfriend. On Monday, Yamada apologized for forgetting the book. Ichikawa wasn't bothered, but she insisted she bring it the next day. He reminded her of winter break, so she planned to meet and asked for his line ID. They both texted each other all night. Ichikawa had waited in the city for Yamada the next day, planning to borrow the next volume of the wrong manga. He wondered why Yamada had asked to meet in Shibuya instead of their usual spot. He had arrived early and saw that Yamada had also been early. Ichikawa walked around to confirm it was her and recognized her when he saw her eating in the crowd. He asked, "Weren't we supposed to meet at 2?" Yamada explained that she had left early to find the place. She interrupted him when the manga was mentioned and asked him to go to a new spot with her. They walked through the busy city, probably because it was New Year's Eve, though Yamada didn't remember. Ichikawa had noticed her pleasant scent. Feeling down, Ichikawa thought that Yamada had only called him to run errands, not to spend Christmas Eve together, so he slowed down. When he saw his reflection in a mirror, he realized he looked like a stalker, so he removed his hoodie and mask. Yamada smiled and handed him one side of her bag, and they walked side by side. Ichikawa tried to avoid Yamada, but she noticed and asked him to stay close. At a cafe, Yamada wanted to try the pancakes and jokingly said, "And I want to try yours," making it feel like a date, though Ichikawa wasn't sure. While waiting in line, Yamada warned him not to go to an amusement park on a first date. She thought waiting in line was awkward, but admitted her theory might be wrong. Ichikawa, misunderstanding, suggested the guy should stand before the stairs, thinking that was why Yamada felt embarrassed. He asked if he could stand before her, but she hesitated, and they awkwardly tried to make eye contact. When he asked about her hair, Yamada explained that her strict mom had done it. She said her mom was tough on the outside, but friendly at home, calling her Anna. When Ichikawa called it cute, Yamada got annoyed, which confused him. After sitting down, Yamada had trouble with the menu, but her mood improved when she found something. Ichikawa ordered coffee, and Yamada felt bad for him not eating. After ordering, Yamada noticed his black outfit and asked if he liked the color. Ichikawa realized all of his clothes were black, and Yamada revealed she loved the color too. Ichikawa said black clothes would look good on her, thinking they would be stylish on someone with a fashion sense, while he wore them out of convenience. He wore black because he liked it and realized he had explained fashion to a prom model. Yamada agreed, mentioning her stylist had said the same. Ichikawa reflected on his mistake. Feeling bad about the day, Ichikawa began overthinking as Yamada asked him to take a photo with her pancakes. When she just ate, he recorded a video. Yamada said she would send the pictures to him, making him blush. He stared at the footage, annoying her. She grabbed his chin, telling him to look at the real thing, and they sat there both blushing. Later, Ichikawa felt embarrassed when Yamada wouldn't let him him pay for the coffee. She asked for his opinion on a dress, and he randomly picked one. She asked him to wait outside while she changed, and Ichikawa started having strange thoughts as she changed behind a curtain. Ichikawa tried to distract himself when he saw Kana enter the shop. Yamada showed him her new dress, but Ichikawa asked her to stay low so his sister wouldn't see them. They hid in a changing room, and Ichikawa promised they would tell people later. He told Yamada to buy the dress, and as she turned, he noticed her exposed back, causing him to panic. Later, Ichikawa opened up to Yamada, saying he wasn't good with people and had only stayed because he had fun. Yamada wrapped a scarf around his neck and enjoyed a decorated street together. On the crowded train, Yamada grabbed his hand to stay together. After arriving, they walked home hand in hand, not caring if anyone saw, but pulled back when they reached her house. Before Ichikawa could say Happy New Year, Yamada interrupted, saying she expected to see him more before the year ended. After parting ways, Ichikawa turned around to see Yamada jump out from behind a pole, wishing him a Merry Christmas, which made him feel like she knew his feelings. Later, Ichikawa overthought everything, frustrated with himself. He imagined the manga Ichikawa lecturing him about his chances with Yamada. He mentioned holding hands but doubted that Yamada saw him as more than a friend. The imaginary figure told him to man up. Meanwhile, he couldn't sleep. Sakine asked to switch places with him to spend time with Nanjo, but Ichikawa's hand seemed broken. Nanjo asked about Yamada, hinting that something had happened between them 4 days ago. Later, Ichikawa arrived with his family at his grandma's house in Akita. The only issue was sharing a room with Kana. He got a message from Yamada, who sent a picture of her food. Ichikawa recalled promising to send Yamada a photo of the snow, so he decided to brave the cold and go for a walk. While walking in the forest, Ichikawa slipped and fell down a hill, losing his phone. Kana eventually found him, and Ichikawa realized his hand was broken. Later, the family gathered for a meal with Kana feeding Ichikawa. He sent a selfie to Yamada, showing his injury. As Ichikawa explained how he had gotten injured. During the call, he noticed Kana watching and panicked, accidentally hanging up. Kana found Yamada cute, so Ichikawa nervous she thought he was talking to a random streamer. Ichikawa awkwardly admitted he didn't even know if Yamada was his friend. He worried Kana might tease him forever, but surprisingly, she told him to sleep before going back to her bed. Yamada was annoyed that Ichikawa had hung up on her and asked about his comment to Kana regarding their relationship. He said they were just friends for now, making Yamada blush. She then asked to call him again, so Ichikawa stepped into the hall to talk. Yamada casually asked if he was hydrated and suggested they drink simultaneously. After some cringe-worthy conversation, she told him to look outside, and he captured the view to send her. She claimed it was a sleeping trick. Finally, they ended the call and called it a day. Ichikawa and Kana greeted their grandmother the next day before returning to Tokyo. They stopped at a store where Ichikawa bought a dog keychain for Yamada. On the way, Kana asked about Yamada, mentioning that a girl's charm mattered more than looks. Ichikawa felt Kana was hinting that Yamada was out of his league, though he thought the same. He then noticed that Kana, like him, had given up. Ichikawa remained focused on Yamada, constantly checking his phone and rereading their chats. Kana continued talking about Yamada, and Ichikawa finally revealed her name. Soon a boy had written it. Kana believed Ichikawa might have a chance with Yamada and gave him a creepy glare. Bumped into a dog resembling the keychain. It belonged to Yamada. She missed him, making Yamada blush even more. Yamada introduced her dog to Ichikawa, and they headed to the park. Ichikawa, thinking it might be too much. Bro, just give her the gift already, he thought. Finally handed her the scarf. Yamada revealed she had intended to give it to him permanently, but thought he didn't want it, so she returned it. Embarrassed, Ichikawa gathered his courage and gave her the gift. Yamada got so excited that she started running in circles. On their way back, Yamada asked if Ichikawa planned to visit the temple for New Year, essentially asking him out. She ran off to her house and promised to text him the details. On New Year's Eve, Ichikawa inquired if Ichikawa had her line. Ichikawa got frustrated, realizing Nanjo was trying to use him to get closer to Yamada. Nanjo admitted that Sakine wouldn't give him any information about Yamada. She was keeping a CIS code and wanted Ichikawa's help since they were classmates. Sakine continued pretending not to know him, which Ichikawa found fair to avoid further complications. However, Mamiya accidentally revealed that Ichikawa was close to Ichikawa had lied to him. He asked Mamiya to get him coffee, and Sakine joined her, leaving Ichikawa and Nanjo alone. Tell anyone that he had gotten Yamada's number from Ichikawa. Ichikawa hesitated at first, but there was no real reason not to. Sakine returned and asked Ichikawa to walk her home, rejecting Nanjo's offer to drop her off. In front of Nanjo, she admitted that Ichikawa was her friend. On the way home, Sakine held Ichikawa's hand, but he pulled away, confirming to her that he liked Yamada. After dropping Sakine off, Ichikawa immediately called Yamada, eager to hear her voice. He wished her a happy new year and decided to confess his feelings soon. Ichikawa and his family had attended the New Year Temple event where Ichikawa had planned to devise an excuse to leave early so he could meet Yamada in an hour. However, his plan was interrupted when his mother noticed Yamada waiting for him. Much to Ichikawa's surprise, surprise. His sister, Kana, urged him to say hello to Yamada, though Ichikawa knew she was likely hoping to observe the interaction. Yamada, spotting Ichikawa with his family, introduced herself to them. The group then went to a temple to make their wishes, and Yamada assisted Ichikawa, who had a broken arm, in making his wish. As they returned to Ichikawa's family, Yamada asked him about his wish. Although he hadn't had the chance to make one, Ichikawa secretly wished for things to remain unchanged. Yamada said goodbye to the family, and Ichikawa planned to meet with her again soon. Kana praised Ichikawa for his maturity before they headed to another location. Kana grabbed Ichikawa and rushed to catch up with her to make a better impression on Yamada. Kana and Ichikawa found Yamada eating food, and Kana asked if she would like to visit their home. Yamada agreed, and as they made their way there, Kana speculated that Yamada might have bought food for Ichikawa, thinking he had a good chance with her. At Ichikawa's house, Yamada took off her jacket and shoes, and Ichikawa noticed she was wearing his keychain. He worried that Kana might see it, given the lie he had told her in a previous conversation. As Ichikawa attempted to grab the keychain from Yamada's waist, Kana misunderstood and thought he was making a move on Yamada. Kana, curious, asked what she should call Yamada, and Yamada played along, teasing Ichikawa. Kana then shared her yearbook with Yamada and Ichikawa. Ichikawa also pulled out his yearbook, and Yamada flipped through it, examining his photos. She asked if there were any pictures of Ichikawa at a school outdoor excursion event, but Kana revealed that Ichikawa hadn't attended. As Kana prepared to leave to meet friends, she invited Yamada to stay with Ichikawa since they had leftover soup. Hiding behind the door, Ichikawa eavesdropped on Kana and Yamada's conversation. Kana thanked Yamada for being such a good friend to Ichikawa, and Yamada surprised Kana by asking if she could call her sister. After Kana left, Yamada entered the living room, and Ichikawa planned to remove the albums, but was followed by Yamada to his room. Yamada chatted about how cute and friendly Kana was, grabbing the album from his hands. She then asked about two boys Ichikawa had hung out with in his younger years. Ichikawa confirmed their names, Kinoshita and Takano, and explained that they had spent a lot of time together at cram school, though they had since gone to different schools and he hadn't kept in touch with them. Yamada noticed Ichikawa's trophies and found his bizarre crime files murders book. Ichikawa explained it to her, and Yamada thought it was neat. She jokingly asked if he could read her mind, but Ichikawa assured her he knew she wasn't a murderer. Before Yamada could spot his copy of Seo magazine, Ichikawa quickly stopped her. The two ended up in an intimate situation, and Yamada snapped some photos of his yearbook before leaving his room. Before she left, Yamada promised Ichikawa that she would show him her yearbook next time. In a flashback, Ichikawa remembered feeling upset when his application hadn't been accepted. Kinoshita and Takano wanted to hang out with him before they started junior high, but one day they saw him reading the same murder book Yamada had noticed in his room. This had led to them abandoning him for good. Ichikawa woke up from the dream, chatting with his inner self before meeting his family outside. His mother dropped him off at school, and Yamada surprised him. Kana asked Yamada to look after Ichikawa, given that it was his first day since his injury. As they walked to class, Yamada asked Ichikawa where his keychain was. Ichikawa showed it to her, and Yamada helped him attach it to his shirt. Ichikawa reflected on his past with Yamada, recalling that he had never wanted to visit in his first year of school and had even lied about attending events. Now, thanks to Yamada, he enjoys visiting places and attending school. Yamada thanked him, saying that she would never have spoken to him or anyone else without him. As Yamada picked up his books, Ichikawa thought about how he had used his murder books as armor to protect himself. Yamada hugs Ichikawa and thanks him for everything, then hands him an empty shrimp snack bag. The episode ends with Yamada giving him a spare shrimp candy.